Ryan Reynolds travels back in time and teams up with his 12-year-old self to try and save the world. Let's talk about Netflix's The Adam Project. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new Netflix film, The Adam Project. It just dropped today, so you can check it out at your leisure. Ryan Reynolds is the star, like I said, but a lot of familiar names in this movie. Jennifer Garner, Mark Ruffalo, Zoe Saldana are just a few of them. So before we get into the specifics of this film, I do want to welcome you in to Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. I do a ton of movie and TV reviews here on the channel, so please consider subscribing if you are into that sort of stuff. Put up many videos every week with the latest in movie and TV reviews. So let's tackle this movie here, The Adam Project. Like I said, Ryan Reynolds stars, and the basic premise is he travels back in time. He's a fighter pilot, and in the futuristic world, he travels back to 2022 to team up with his 12-year-old self named Adam to try and save the world. So Jennifer Garner plays the mom here. Mark Ruffalo plays the deceased father, but we do see him in this movie, and I won't explain what that's all about, but it is a time travel movie, so you can maybe make your own conclusions there. And I had actually been seeing pictures in the last couple of days of Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo in the present day, side by side with an old shot from 13 going on 30, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I wonder what's going on. And, if you know me, I don't watch trailers. I don't try to read too many things into the news. So other than Ryan Reynolds, I didn't know who was in this movie. So when I saw that the two of them were in it, I was like, oh, okay, that's awesome that that's where that shot came from. But if you saw that floating around the internet and were wondering why, it's from this movie, The Adam Project. But Zoe Saldana, as I said, is also in it, Catherine Keener, and the kid that plays the 12-year-old version of Adam is called Walker Scobell. Unfamiliar with him. He hasn't really done a whole lot, but they picked somebody that does have a similar look to the present day Ryan Reynolds. It's, not dead on, but close enough that you could easily see, okay, yeah, I could see that this kid grows up to be Ryan Reynolds. And also he's got that wit, the snark. It's not fully 100% formed yet because, of course, why would it be? You're only 12. You're still sort of working on your sense of being and your sense of humor. So I liked that little touch that he wasn't quite in the realm of Ryan Reynolds yet. Ryan Reynolds, of course, is just really playing himself as always. So the director here, Sean Levy, he has mostly good movies, but he's got a little bit of a hit or miss record because he's done a couple that I did not really care for. But he goes back to the early parts of the 2000s with Big Fat Liar and the original Cheaper by the Dozen he directed. He directed all three Night at the Museum movies. This great little-known movie. It kind of came and went at the box office called This Is Where I Leave You, very star-studded. Real Steel with Hugh Jackman he did. So he's got a lot of pretty decent ones on his plate. And then, there's a couple of questionable ones in there as well. But on the TV side of things, he's produced Stranger Things for years, and he's directed a handful of the episodes there. So, look, the guy knows his stuff when you're talking about a hybrid movie like this. It is certainly sci-fi, but it's also, of course, comedy. You've got the Ryan Reynolds angle there. But it's also got a really good emotional heart. The biggest strength probably of the movie maybe is the emotional aspect of it. So it's a bit dramatic and tear-jerking in spots too. So it is a little bit of everything. And the two most recently teamed up, Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds, in Free Guy, which was a super fun movie last year, also sort of in that sci-fi vein. However, I do think he's leaning on a couple of things in this movie that I think are possibly unnecessary. In Free Guy, a lot of the cultural references made sense. They're, inside a video game, whatever. Here, we really lean heavily on some of the previous science fiction movies. I chose to wear my Back to the Future shirt today for a reason. They in fact bring up Back to the Future in this movie. They bring up Star Wars many, many times, and some other films as well. We may be leaning on that a little bit too much. I suppose in the real world, is a 12-year-old kid going to, make references like that when he sees something that looks like a lightsaber or something that looks like one of the ships you might see in Star Wars? Yeah, I mean, I guess that does make sense. I can't really deny that that's how a 12-year-old would relate. I mean, that's how I would relate, even. I think we all sort of relate pop culturally, but, I don't know. Is it necessary to sort of remind the audience that these other better films exist? I'm not positive. But that brings me to sort of the big weakness of the movie, which is actually the sci-fi part. Like, the time travel stuff is okay, and they do try to explain it away fairly well. I mean, I think that is an issue with a lot of time travel movies, is it's kind of hard to explain. This one does play by the rules that it sets out, and it does explain pretty much what exactly is happening, because of course, the adult Adam has to explain it to his 12-year-old self, thereby explaining it to us, the audience, as well. So I didn't mind that part. But the action sequences, the set pieces are all very, very routine. Uninspired set pieces, really. They're in the desert, or they're in a forest, or, they're in this ship that looks pretty usual for these kinds of movies. Even the place where sort of the main time travel thing is, again, I'm not going to do spoilers, but towards the end of the movie, they go to this place, and it's very reminiscent of, like, the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters and kind of stuff like that. So I found that part to be a bit routine. It's not that I didn't enjoy watching those scenes, but it didn't really bring anything new to the table. I mean, he's literally using a two-headed lightsaber, and they sort of poke fun at that. It's a little tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, it's also a little lazy, I think. But that brings me to the emotional center of this movie. The last few scenes are very touching, and there's a lot of interesting sort of byplay with the older Adam and the younger Adam, both in the humorous aspect and in that sort of emotional sensibility that really did get me. I think that's probably the strongest part of the movie. But even, Catherine Keener, I'm sick of her popping up in these kinds of movies. Like, the only thing that would have been more routine than her is if they had Marcia Gay Harden pop in as the villain. It's like, all right, we got it. There are other working actresses out there that can do these roles, but I think Catherine Keener's been so pigeonholed at this point. And it's kind of a shame, because I used to really, enjoy seeing her on the screen, but, that's one more thing in this movie that just sort of was like, okay, this is kind of lazy. We've seen this over and over again. But again, like Free Guy and like a lot of these other Reynolds movies, I think your appreciation and enjoyment of this movie will vary depending on how you feel about Ryan Reynolds. I am a fan. I love his sense of humor. I think his sharp wit is funny. Is it sort of, time-traveling Deadpool? I guess a little bit. I think this character and the Free Guy character differ a little bit from Deadpool. And this is rated PG-13. And really, for just, I think, the action sequences, I don't think there's any cursing in the movie. Not really. Maybe a couple of S words. But I think this is really a family film. And you could watch this with, 7 or 8 year olds, and I think would be fine with it. So that is one aspect I really do like about this, is that it's not just mindless action or your typical, oh, let's throw in a lot of curse words to be funny. None of that is here, and I do appreciate that. I just wish the movie was a bit more original, because it's just not quite there. But I certainly don't regret watching it. I sort of teetered on, somewhat of a middling grade, and I think it's still pretty middling. But those couple of emotional scenes at the end really put me over. So I am going to leave the Adam Project with a B-. I actually would have really appreciated even more if they spent more time sort of with the dealing with your 12-year-old self, and they do hit that a lot. But that was some of my favorite stuff in the movie, so I maybe wanted to see a little more of that. But anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.